Good morning. Happy Saturday. Welcome to the 6 a.m. club where we start our day inspired. This week, I have an amazing quote from one of my gurus, which is John Maxwell. I'm laughing. I was trying to find the right word, but I don't know what the right word would be to describe the great John Maxwell. He has been one of those people that have influenced my leadership in a great deal. Anyways, I love his teachings. I love his quotes. I've been to his events. I've read his books. He's such an inspiration for me. And I have a quote for you that came up earlier this week. And then there was an event at work where this topic came up as well. And I'm like, too many coincidences in 1 week. This is trying to tell me something. I need to talk about it. But most importantly, I need to reflect about it. So here's the quote. It says, leaders become great not because of their power, but because of their ability to empower others. It's such a, you would say, common sense quote, but so deep at the same time. And for me, it's something that I'm constantly working on. And I think that when we think about leaders, I need to differentiate, right? We're talking about leaders. We're not talking about only managers or people leaders, but leaders in general, right? We are all leaders. So even if you don't manage people directly, this still applies to you because you are still a leader. So I wanted to make that distinction, but that to aside, this topic has come up a couple of times for me this week, and it let me reflecting, right? I was at an event at work, and someone asked me the question about influence. And for me, influencing others is leadership, right? As a leader, you influence others. Now, you can influence people in many different ways, both good and bad. Hopefully, we are all trying to influence people for the better. Now, when we talk about influence and when we talk about leadership, and I got this question about, can you share a story? I could think of a lot of stories, but I had to start with some failures before I came to some successes, because that has been my personal journey. And I think many people might share this with me as well. But when I started my professional journey, I thought that leadership was all about power. And I looked for ways of achieving that, right? Because I wanted to be a good leader. I had really good intentions. I was misinformed and I had a lot to learn. So I did make a lot of mistakes. I thought at the beginning, influencing others meant that, first of all, I had all the answers and that I was able to persuade others to adopt my ideas and my ways of working. And I quickly figure out, maybe not that quickly, I'm not that good, but I figure out over the years that that's not how things work, right? Influencing others, leading others is all about empowering them to make their own decisions, empowering them to have their own voice, empowering them to speak up. That is what leadership is about. And you can see that in every context, not only when you're directly leading people, but you can see it when you're leading a meeting or a project or an activity, or you're trying to guide someone. And for me, that was a big lesson, right? Influencing and leading is about empowering people. And sometimes the best way you can do that is by asking questions. Especially if you come across someone like me years ago that thinks that her ideas were the only good ideas, or that she was always right, or she wasn't always right, but she always thought she needed to be right and have the answers. So sometimes the power of questions can go so far in influencing others and empowering others. So what are better quality questions that you can ask to help empower others? How can you invite others to share their ideas, to empower them to make decisions? Sometimes it's like, John, what do you think about this? Or Mary, what would you do? Sometimes are simple questions like that can help empower people so they take that first step. And after that first step, it's going to become easier because you're already creating the space for them to speak up and make their own decisions. Anyways, this is getting a little bit longer than a 6 a.m. episode typically is. And we're going in a different direction this week with leadership versus leading yourself. This is more about leading others. But I really wanted to share this with you because it's something that has come up several times for me this week. And I thought, when something comes up several times, I need to talk about it, because that's my way of reflecting myself out loud. And a lot of times I need to hear these things as much or more than anybody else. So with that, I hope you have an amazing weekend. If you live in the United States, happy 4th of July. I hope you have an amazing weekend, and I will see you here again next week for another episode of the Leading Yourself podcast.